Alright guys, such comic you can say, hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Rostermania discussions are already underway. The World Cup has now concluded. OpTic Gaming won the tournament, but every single other team in the league may well be making some serious changes going forward. And rumours already starting to emerge, especially with what might be happening with FaZe. K-Sound reveals that compared to the Saudi bag, compared to the money that the Falcons are potentially looking to offer for some of the players, they simply are not in a position to compete. That means almost certainly these teams are going to be blowing it up. Where are the pieces going to land? And where might some of the HyDra players fit into this discussion as well? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Not a bad month for Mercules, it's got to be said. He's made well over 300 racks in the last month. So, it's not bad. And obviously there's a bit of inflation here. We're talking about Zuma's all-time career earnings. We're talking about Zinni's all-time career earnings. And, Mercules has eclipsed that in the space of about 4 weeks. But, it is kind of like that nowadays. The prize money has inflated to a large extent. EWC as a tournament was not a thing back in the day. But, I think this is more a credit to Mercules than it is a diss to those other individuals who also had great careers in their own right. As iLLeY says, congrats to OpTic, an amazing way to end the year for them. Perfect time to peak. And he also goes on to drop, well, a couple of things. He was playing some chals, actually like a lot of chals, and there was a bit of drama going down there. But he also tweeted this one out with the little, what do you guys call it again? The hourglass emoji, that's right. So iLLeY's kind of implying that, it's only a matter of time until I'm coming back, baby. And I think that for really, it's interesting because seeing the OpTic guys win in the way that they did, it will make iLLeY feel some type of way, right? And not necessarily for good or for bad, but like he'll just be like, damn, Shotzzy and Huke, I won with these guys a few years ago and obviously played with Shotzzy not that long ago and had some success at the start of Vanguard, right, as we know. But then it all fell apart for various reasons, and iLLeY's probably looking at that thinking, damn, well, maybe I could give it a run and come back in. And it's difficult because iLLeY played a bit of time in challenges this year. Would he be able to if he wants to come back for Black Ops 7, which I think he does. He's made that pretty clear, and he's certainly implying that he wants to make a return. That, which team would go and get him? It's just going to be an incredible off-season, right? Because there are so few spots to go for all the players that potentially could want to get those spots. Players wanted to come back. Some of the HyDra players as well. I mean, we know that Legend, we'll talk about him in a second on the OpTic team. He's confirmed he wants to come to Black Ops 7 for next year. Whether some other players as well, could Frosty try and make a comeback? Could Formal try and make a comeback? I doubt that because Formal's been pretty clear that he likes the HyDra schedule because it's a little bit more chill than a COD schedule. I don't think Formal would want to come back and grind COD all the time, but who knows? Like, it's an option out there given the HyDra scene is kind of shutting down after this season. There's still going to be a bit of a HyDra scene, but it's not going to be as supported from the top end as it has been over the last couple of years. So that's why we've led to a lot of these situations. Now, as Kremp says, Brandon is about to be so bad at these 8s now, and Dashy, I'm sure, is going to be pretty insufferable to the rest of those guys, and of course he very much deserves to be. Quickly on FaZe, Simp says, insane last day to end, but these seasons always fly by so fast. That is not true, that is not untrue. The first event of the year was, towards the end of January in Madrid, and it doesn't really feel that long ago. And here we are towards the end of July, roughly 6 months later, and the season is basically done. Now, last year, EWC for COD was in August, so we have a little bit of a longer off-season this time than we did previously, but it may well be a more fascinating off-season in some respects, because there are going to be some serious changes hitting the timeline in the very near future, I am sure. Almost certainly involving the FaZe team as well, but there are so many pieces to this puzzle. It's not like there are just 1 or 2 big free agents, and they're going to move, and then everything else is going to filter in. Even when the big free agents move, if they do, there's still so many other pieces that need to fit together, buyouts that might need to happen, and especially when we're talking about teams like the Falcons that have the money to pay buyouts, because, we've kind of talked about that before, trades and buyouts, and, how often does it really happen? Teams prefer to wait for players just to let their contract run out, and stuff like this. And all the teams might be doing something. Toronto, we know that they're going to be rebranding, we think, to like Toronto Koi, which is ugly, but maybe, what are they going to do with their team? What happens there? Is someone going to get poached? Totally not impossible, because with OpTic looking as good as they did, I think with OpTic looking so good, that also created even more incentive for these teams to try and form something pretty spectacular. In the same way that when FaZe won in Cold War and was so dominant the majority of that season, and then they won the World Championship at the end of the year basically at a canter, the other teams tried to build teams to beat FaZe. Like, that was the whole thing. And did they do it? Hell yeah, they did it. In Vanguard, FaZe made loads of finals. They lost every single one. Surge built a team that was built to try and beat FaZe. They didn't always do it, but sometimes they did. OpTic got a win that season, right? So, you know, that's what's interesting, that the teams will put out all the stops now to try and form a team that can beat OpTic, but you know, that OpTic team at the end of the season were playing at a very, very high level indeed. And it's not just like it's Thieves and FaZe. It's not like there's only two contenders to try and build great teams next season. You know, Falcons aren't messing around. Toronto aren't going to look to mess around. They want to get back in there. Presumably even Cloud9 will want to come back with a bit of a vengeance. And let's not count out a team like the Heretics. I mean, they could have won this tournament, right? There's no doubt about that. aBeZy says, pathetic end of the season. He's not going to be on FaZe next year. That's where my money would be. And then Real says the following. GG's to everyone we played. They finished 4th. Kind of crazy, right? The Heretics could have won it. I mean, they may not have even beaten Surge in the finals, but so close to beating OpTic as we know, who eventually won the tournament. Appreciate the support. Don't know what's going to happen, but love y'all. So, well, let's see about this. So these are kind of the first indications we're getting here of what could happen in Rostermania, with Real saying, yeah, I don't really know what's next, but time will tell. So what does that meant to mean? We know that Real was actually linked to Toronto at some point, right? Like when they were considering who their options were going to be, they were looking at Real, but Miami as an organization, or the Heretics, they have beef with Koi. So they apparently, it was quite petty and they never actually made the sale despite saying that they might. It was all kind of dramatic. But I think the point that Real is making, and for good reason, I would like to see the Heretics team stay together. I think it would be a really cool story. I think the chances of that happening are less than 50%, because as good as they were, I think that some of these guys will be at least getting spoken to. Rencor and Real especially, possibly Super as well. So Real's like, look, I don't know what's going to happen. And that implies that it's not like, oh, we're definitely sticking, we're going to come back next year. Because at the end of the day, as good as they were, they didn't win anything, they didn't make any finals. So, you know, when you look at the results, as impressive as Heretics season was, they could argue, and probably those players in the team could argue, that, well, maybe another option could be on the table out there. Now, this was pretty funny from Drazah, just something to have a look at and think about, because he was gassing up JoeDeceives, and to be fair, for good reason. He was mega this weekend. But also, does it mean anything, right? Is there anything to this? There was a rumour a little while ago that Drazah to Toronto could be a possibility. So something that is just worth thinking about, because Drazah to, I don't know how it would exactly work, as CleanX did a good job on the flex, and obviously aBeZy looked pretty solid, and him and Joe seem to be getting on kind of well. But I still kind of doubt that Toronto stay together as a team. At the end of the day, that they were solid. They came 3rd, but they didn't win, and they felt like they could have done. But let's talk about exactly some more detail on FaZe, because as Jake Cal says, can't believe we've got to wait ages for another, you know, CDL match just to begin again. But the intel is starting to go pretty crazy, right? So just a couple of clips that I wanted to share here from K-Sun. Of course, he's heavily involved in this situation over at FaZe, and he's talking about the situation for BO7 on a couple of different fronts. One point is on Legends. Now, this guy, wow. French player, Halo player now for OpTic, unbelievable talent, and look, I don't know what's going to happen if this guy comes to COD. It may work, it may not work, but many people are looking at this guy and saying, wow, you know, if he comes to COD, we could be in for another, you know, potential superstar at least level talent in the league. And K-Sun actually makes it pretty clear, if I had to say a Halo pro that's going to be the best at COD, I'm saying Legends, that kid is gross. Now this maybe makes some interesting questions for a team such as FaZe, especially because K-Sun also went on to say that the Falcons are a thing. You know, the Falcons exist, and as I've made the point for a little while, it's not like FaZe don't have any money, but they're going to have a hard time competing, and K-Sun puts it right out there on the table. We can't compete with the oil money, right? So if Falcons want to come along and pay the money for some of the guys, get the buyouts, pay the salaries, it's going to be a big challenge for FaZe to compete with that. So they may be pushed into a position where their best option might be to say, all right, someone like Legends, take a chance on like an outsider who maybe has just insane upside in COD. That might be the way to go. And if Simp is to stay on FaZe, because Simp's still under contract, rumour is that aBeZy could get bought out by Falcons. Drazah and Cell, we think, are total free agents. They could come back to FaZe, but we'll see. Assuming that Simp stays on FaZe, he kind of like is FaZe in some respects. He will attract talent because people want to play with Simp. But equally, would Simp be happy with their, you know, with the ownership telling him, okay, yeah, sorry, we can't get you really aBeZy or anyone that good. We're gonna, you know, we've got to pick up the scraps here a little bit this season. Is Simp going to be happier with that? Or is he going to prefer being like, okay, give me a guy like Legend or just someone with potential huge upside and we'll see if we can make it work? That maybe is more likely right now.
I really don't know. So chat, what do you guys think the Halo pros are going to do? Yo, if I had to say a Halo pro that's going to be the best to go in COD, other than obviously like Frosty, Legend. That kid is fucking gross. That kid is fucking gross. I actually just played him in 8s. I played Legend in 8s 3 days ago offline. Such a hard kill, bro. Formal? Do you guys think Matt's gonna... The amount of money that's been lost every single year on this team to try and win. The money, you know, and you know, I have to say though, it's kind of scary, chat. Falcons exist. Holy fuck, do those guys scare me? Do those guys scare me? Because they are rich. Yo, bro, they are scary. We'll see what happens, man. Yeah, you can't, you know, we can't compete with oil money.
So all sorts of options for FaZe going into the upcoming season. What are they going to do? Nobody really knows. Mamba says this: need to get back on the main stage. Unreal feeling. I'll keep working permanently until I'm there. I'll keep working until I'm permanently there. Mentality is everything. See y'all in BO7. And as Dashy says, typical plays this weekend. See you in the league next year. So thought that was a nice comment from Dashy. I don't think he knows anything precisely, but it would be a surprise, isn't it, really, if Mamba is not going to get picked up to the league. Thought it was a nice reply, really, saying, appreciate it, brother, congrats on the back-to-back, but it's not going to happen next year when I'm there in the league. So we'll see who could go and get Mamba. Again, that's what I say, there's so many options, right? Because Mamba and Craze, Vivid and Mac, the guys on the Omit team that did very well, they should all be at least in the conversation to getting in the league next year. And if it's not going to expand, which it doesn't look like it is, then it's absolutely all to play for. These are the teams. This is just looking at the prize money earned on the season. OpTic tops the list. No surprises there. Then Surge, who made so many finals. They actually were second by a country mile, really. But unfortunately for them, didn't win anything. Thieves did, but made less. FaZe did, but won less. And then Ultra, Heretics, Boston, etc., etc. So these are all of the teams. What are they going to do? Are Ravens even going to be here next year? Cloud9 made basically nothing. I mean, you know, Gentlemates, Falcons, yeah, it wasn't great. Pretty much all of these guys made 40k from EWC. The only team that didn't make 40k from EWC was Rocker. They made only 20k, and they didn't make much more than that in the regular season as well. And of course, that's split between all the players, right? I mean, it's kind of wild to think. Rocker this whole season made 50 grand between all of the players when... I mean, what did Mercules win yesterday? 150 grand for winning the tournament. It's like that's his own split of the 600k prize pot. So, yeah, winner takes it all, basically, in this game, and that maybe is how it should be. Look, we talk about rookie seasons. We talk about Simp's rookie season from 2019. Tough to top that. And in terms of KD and, like, just, I don't know, being the best player in the game, yeah, Simp is hard to look past. And he won, you know, playoffs, won the World Championship. But still, for Mercules to come in as he did, especially coming in so late in the season, and having the impact that he did, you know, world champ, EWC champ, 2 times champion, world champion, average placement is now 2.25, the best we've ever seen. For now, obviously, as he plays more tournaments, it's unlikely they can keep that up, but who knows. Positive KD in all 4 tournaments that he's played, 3rd, 4th, 1st, and 1st in his first 4 career tournaments. And, you know, given that Toronto, that was a substitute situation, given that OpTic had previously been an absolute mess, and then turning them into what he helped deliver, is, yeah, still kind of crazy to think about. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.